Hi everybody, this is Josh with Josh Wright Piano TV. Today's episode is about how to count Clair de Lune. This video is dedicated to Ian, who had asked about how to do this. And this is a tough piece because it's in 9/8 time. That's what the time signature is. Okay, so the 9 on the top means 9 beats per measure, and the 8 on the bottom means 1/8 note gets a beat. Okay, so if you see like something like 4/4 time, 4 beats per measure, quarter note gets the beat because 1/4 is a quarter of 1. So quarter note. If you see something crazy like 5/16 time, you probably will never see that. I think I've seen that one time in a 20th century piece. That would mean 5 beats per measure and the 16th note gets the beat, okay? When you see 2/2 time, that means 2 beats per measure and the half note gets 1 beat, okay? So that would give you a little introduction to these key signatures. So I want everybody who is working on this piece and who is having trouble counting this to grab a piece of paper and a pencil and just pause the video as I go along through these different note values and write them down. Okay, if we're in 9/8 time and the 8th note gets 1 beat, I want you to write out an 8th note on a blank sheet of paper, and I want you to write 8th note equals 1 and. We're going to subdivide the beat. 1 and. Okay, so 1 plus, in other words. Okay, a 16th note, so write out a 16th note. It's a note with 2 little flags on it. That gets 1 or and. So it gets half of the 8th note. Okay? And we're going to be counting, just so each of you understand this, we're going to be counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and. You guys might think I'm crazy for subdividing the beat when we're already counting to 9. It will make your life a lot easier in just a second when I show you this. A quarter note, if an 8th note gets 1 and, a quarter would get 1 and 2 and. Okay? A dotted quarter, if a quarter gets 1 and 2 and, okay, the dot adds half the value. Okay, so it's 1 and 2 and 3 and. See how I'm just talking through this? Okay? And a half note gets 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a dotted half note gets 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Okay? And then one other one I think I missed is a dotted 8th. A dotted 8th note gets 1 and 2. Okay? So that should be a good reference for us. Let's go through, and I'm just going to play this first part, okay? Uh-oh, what happens here when we see that 2 above those 8th notes, meaning a duple? Okay, I'll be the typical student and I'll just listen to it and kind of guess. Okay. Rhythm's already off. Okay, this is critical that you count this piece. Okay, I'm going to go through really slow. Okay, the first beat is an 8th rest, so write in 1 and. I can't show you guys this music and zoom in on it for copyright issues, okay, because this is a copyrighted score. Okay, so you're just going to have to do it by listening very carefully. Okay, 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, okay, because those are each 8th notes. Okay, now, that ties over into a dotted quarter note. So, the dotted quarter note would come on 4 and it would get 4 and 5 and 6 and, okay? And then the next note gets 7 and 8 and 9 and. Okay, I'm going to play it again so you guys, that makes sense in context. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, now we're going to get to this duple. Okay, usually if you see 1, 2, 3, okay, and then we have 2 groups of 2 left. So we know that that first group of 2 will get 4, 5, 6, and the second group of 2 will get beats 7, 8, 9. Okay? This is the reason I'm subdividing 4 and 5 and 6 and. Because 4, 5, 6, how do you divide that into 2? Well, it's 1 1/2. How do you count 1 1/2 when you're only counting 4, 5, 6? You don't. But if you're counting 4 and 5 and 6 and, can we divide 6 in half? Yes, you can. So the first note of that duple will get 4 and 5, and then the next note of that duple will get and 6 and. So it goes like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Okay? Now this is even trickier. Debbie C throws us for a loop here by by tying that note. So I want you just in your practice, just as you're first starting to learn this, I want you to ignore the tie, just for counting's sake, then put it right back in after. So we're gonna go 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and, just for practice, okay? Now, go practice that for a while, come back when you're ready, okay? And I'm gonna try this again from the beginning of that third measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and. Okay, we've gone over all the hard parts up to this point, so I'm just going to play the rest of the page while counting, okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and here's another duple. 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and watch for that tie, please. I see almost every student when you play that A flat, it's tied. Okay, here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and if you're not annoyed by now, you have the patience of Job. Okay, here we go. We're moving on. I just wanted to show you one other part. The rest of the piece is pretty basic. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1. And then it switches, I believe, oh maybe it doesn't. I'm thinking of a different piece here. Yeah, this stays the same throughout. Okay, I did want to show you one other place. On page 2, my page 2, I believe it's measure 19 in the score. It should go, it's a group of 6. So you think, oh crap, how do I divide 6 beats, or 6 notes into 9 beats? Think of it. That is the same as how many groups of duples. Okay, so we thought, okay, 3 beats fit into 2. Okay, so 2 plus 2 plus 2. Oh, that's 3. Three groups of duples. So go to measure 19 and I'll play this real slow just to show you how this is counted. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and... So you notice 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Every other note is going to fall on a number and every other note is going to fall on an and. So let me demonstrate that again. 1 and 2 and 3 and, okay, now it's the number. 4 and 5, now it's the and 6 and, number. 7 and 8 and 9 and. Okay, and then it switches back to 9/8 time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and. Okay, because I see a lot of students do this. Completely incorrect because you're playing your duples the same as you're just playing your normal eighth notes. That's the correct way to do it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1. Okay? When you get to these big chords, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and I actually like to stretch this last chord a little bit more. Okay, I think that's about it. If any of you have questions or would like to audition for private online lessons through Skype, my email is josh@joshwrightpiano.com. Also, if you'd like to enter this month's giveaway, I give away CDs, online piano lessons, and all sorts of other stuff. visit my blog at the link below. You can also join me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by clicking the links below. Thank you so much for your support. I will see you next week.